Hello and welcome. This is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
It's a house!
Dude!
Bitch, please. Drama!
It's a house!
Huh?
5 brain cells, 4 aren't working.
Come on, man. What's wrong with you?
Let me see. How do I say everything that I just said? That's crazy. All right, everybody. Well, we have another show here tonight. We're going to go look at a few different pieces of like audio from interviews. There was an interview, 857 Tucson, recorded in a radio interview with Nanos, and that was with Bill Buckmaster at the Bustos Media, right? So it's kind of muffled, but you can hear it. So we'll play that one, and then the Brian Entin interview with Morgan Wright, and actually looks like Morgan Wright, he might come on my show. Yeah, so we can talk to him directly about it. All right. And, you know, it'd be cool just to make a connection and talk to more experts and be able to have them sometimes, you know, come on various cases. A lot of times we think the same thing. But hey, guys, if you're watching the show, if you have the ability to help support the channel, tonight's just like every other night. All right. That was weird. Like when you're using StreamYard, you have to hit go live twice in a row, which kind of makes sense, you know. But then I hit it once and forgot about it, and then I went live and I thought, wow, there's only 38 people here. That's exactly what I did that other time too. And then that's when I realized, wait a minute. And I look up there and I'm not live. Man, look at Timothy Cecil said, hi everyone. Please join the wave, or Jim's iguana will not eat tonight. There you go. See? That's exactly right. All right, so the first thing we're listening to is that radio, Bill Buckner, you know, with Bustos Media, and we'll just kind of listen to what it. We'll see if you guys can hear it.
I know. Well, it's pretty much over, and that's what we're hoping, that folks have, you know, seen the first half. Now they're over with us, because
I think they're talking about basketball.
we have a very important.
This is Bill Buckmaster that you're hearing.
And that's 857 Tucson.
Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, who has really become known to millions of people around the world as the lead investigator of the Nancy Guthrie case, the mom of today's show host, Savannah Guthrie. The 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was last seen.
Can you guys, you can actually make it out what they're saying, right? I can, so you should be able to. Can you guys make it out? It's a little bit muffly, but you can hear it.
Her Foothills home on January 31st. Sheriff, great to have you with us. Thank you, Bill. Before I give you a two-part question, I see that, according, as they're calling it, the New York Post, an exclusive. I guess you had someone shadowing you this week from the Post, because they say in their exclusive today, Sheriff Nano spends more time at the gym than at the office. And they've got pictures of you at the coming out of the gym. Too
loud or too quiet?
They've got a great shot of you with the top down with the Corvette. You're looking 40 there in that shot. So I mean, they've been all over this, of course, the Post, and as have media from around the world.
Absolutely. You know, I've gotten tips as far away as Prague,
Really?
Australia, and just people calling in with their theories or ideas and thoughts, and so then they continue to call, and that's a good thing. You don't want to discourage people from not calling.
It's actually, it goes on, it's like a 30-minute interview, but I don't want to play the part where they're talking about his, 48 years ago, he, got like suspended or something. I don't even know. I don't really care. It was 48 years ago or whatever the hell it was. Doesn't seem to be really relevant to anything. I just want to listen to the first 12 minutes or so where it's about stuff in the case,
Sometimes it just it gets a little bit much, but it's okay. I want them to call us.
All right, two-part question. Anything you would have done differently in this investigation? Second part, do you think we'll ever know what happened to Nancy Guthrie?
Nothing different. I mean, I wish there was something I could do different that would have produced better results, but no, I think we started off today, you started off that I'm the lead investigator on this case. I hope that the community, the public understands that I'm not the investigator at all on this case. I have a team, a very qualified.
Hey, there's Coco Love. I was going to make her a moderator too. She's always so nice. And she laughs at my jokes. Okay? And plus we have a few moderators that are never really here. So there's like spots there.
What would have been a better way to carry it?
She actually listens to my when I'm funny. It's crazy. It's amazing.
Charge of the department that's handling this. Managing, I get briefed by my investigators. They come in when they have news to talk about this case. But my role really is to protect them and keep them. But you're not yourself investigating. No, those years are long past me, trust me. But the reality is I have a team, a very qualified team. I think they had 13 homicides last year. Every one of them solved. Some very difficult homicides.
Everyone in Pima, every
homicide in our jurisdiction were solved. They have a very high clearance rate. But these are detectives and supervisors of homicide teams.
Okay, so nothing differently you're saying, but what about, are we going to know what happened here eventually?
I believe we will, yes.
Are we going to know what happened? I believe we will. Man, it's always, just say yes. Yeah. I believe we will sounds really, what do you call it? No, thank you. It just sounds kind of weak,
I have full faith in my team's ability. We're working with the FBI. We're working with several labs around the country on this. We're working with forensics examiners of...
Or as Megyn Kelly would say, Kohlberger. She still says Kohlberger. Is she that, just out of it? There's no L in Kohlberger.
Digital video media. There's just a lot going on.
Not a cold case?
Not even close.
Okay, let's get him involved here.
Yeah, so he did say there, it's not even close to a cold case.
A few days ago, maybe a week ago, you were interviewed on NBC and said, we believe we know why he did this. Can you go any further in terms of elaborating on targeting, of whether it's just Nancy Guthrie we're worried about, or whether your understanding of the motive possibly leads to other people being targeted too?
Okay, without getting into the case itself, when I tell you that I believe this occurred or that occurred, that is my opinion. That's all that is. By other individuals in the case are investigators. They too have their thoughts and ideas and opinions. And I'm never going to set them down and say, no, that's not right or that's wrong. The case will get us there. We let the evidence show us the way. And that's what we base everything on. Right now, everything is speculative. We don't have anything in front of us that says this is who did this, and this is why. So, you know, I get it. Things are said. Sometimes they're taken out of context. It really is, though, this case is a case that is probably unlike any case we've seen in years in Tucson.
I think just anywhere, really. I mean, that's why I was saying on my interview with Megyn Kelly, not Megyn Kelly, but geez, my brain just went. Ashley Banfield. I was just talking about Megyn Kelly. When I interviewed with Ashley Banfield, I was just saying that this case is interesting regardless of it being... I mean, everybody was into it because it was Savannah Guthrie's mom, but at this point, I don't even really remember that most of the time when I'm talking. It's just sort of like, oh yeah, and then, you know, it's the case by itself. It just... What it kind of shows you, too, is that there's a lot of cases out there that if the media just gave it a nudge, they would be popular too. And every case needs the popularity to get more eyes on, especially ones like this. You know? So there you go. But hey guys, we're currently at 1/30th of a nightly goal, so if you have the ability to help support the channel, that would be great. Thank you.
The closest I can come to it would be...
You know, when I watch these other people, they do these live streams, man, it looks like a bingo machine in there. I mean, it's crazy. I have to, like, struggle every night.
The Cialis girl, she was kidnapped, taken out of her bedroom. I think you would call the family, the father specifically, really went through a lot in that case, and unjustifiably so.
And Tim, you actually posted about that case.
About that case. It took 10 years to get resolution on that.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's not the case here, but I hope also that the public and committee understand that we are working it hard, and we are working it with some real good quality.
I wouldn't say that he's done nothing wrong. That's a pretty naive statement there, Hillbilly Nitro. To say, I don't believe he has done anything wrong. That's just absolutely counter to the facts, okay? He's done a lot of things wrong in the case. A lot of them, yeah. Do you think it's wrong to give the house back to the family a day after she gets kidnapped? Do you think that there is no way that's not wrong? That's why they came back and commandeered it again. Because that was just ridiculous.
Teams, and we get so much, not just from a general law enforcement service community.
Anybody here? Hello?
Public, big corporations are into this case saying, how can we help?
Okay, Tim. I kind of implied in my last question, the motive kind of would clarify whether other people are in danger.
I just told you what he did wrong, Hillbilly. What in the hell are you doing? I just told you. God.
Granted, you've noted that there's crime in Tucson and around Tucson anyway, but...
And then he clears the family and then keeps the car. There's just so many different things.
What about the question of danger to the broader community?
Yes, Tim. I understand. And to me...
Thank you, Wild Bill Wassman.
It would be silly as the leader of a large... Don't worry about it. Just relax. This was the Guthrie...
And then going to a basketball game, like, day 5 when there's this massive search for somebody and you're out there, woohoo! Just looks horrendous to do that. And then not using, law enforcement and other agencies right away, the dog sniffing, the scent dogs, the helicopter situation. There's a lot of things he didn't do right. I think, though, the media is overboard in finding every single thing.
No, that's not what we want to tell our community. From a law enforcement perspective, anytime we want you to be safe, securing your homes, locking your doors, paying attention to your surroundings. If you see something, say something. Just be safe.
Do you want to summarize then what is your theory? Why don't maybe that would be helpful?
I believe.
Can you share with it what is your theory of what happened? This is Chris Nanos, whatever.
Okay, yeah. What is your theory?
I would tell you is I believe that Nancy Guthrie was removed from her home against her will.
Right. That's exactly right. But that doesn't say the why. Was she removed against her will because it was a ransom for hire? Ransom, not ransom for hire, ransom, kidnapping that went wrong? Was it she was removed against her will after a sexual assault? Those are the only really, the two, one would be if she knew who it was, but he had a balaclava on. So the only two that are reasonable are like if it was a sexual assault of some sort, or it was an abduction for ransom that went wrong and they could never prove that she was alive. That's it.
That isn't kid.
Great, but what about the cartel? I don't give a shit about the cartel. That has nothing to do with anything. All right. But you guys, we currently have one gifted membership, and we're at 1/15th of a nightly goal. So if we can get a challenge or two going here, that would be fantastic.
Napping. Beyond that, everything else is just, we'll see.
Right. So they believe that she was removed against her will from the house. Yes. I think we all agree with that.
Let the evidence take us there. I think somebody had an argument with me, or discussion, I'll say,
Are we back?
about this photo of remember the photo we gave at the man at the front door with the backpack on?
Yeah, remember the photo? This guy just keeps talking and talking. And the guy at the front door with the backpack,
There's another photo of him without a backpack on. It was released the same day we released it all. And people speculated that they're two different times and two different days, and it went crazy. And what I told them was simply this: we have nothing in front of us. There's no time or date stamp on the photos that says those photos were taken at two different times. So it would be irresponsible for me to say, yes, we think they're two different photos, two different days, two different. No, what we said was, here's the photos we have from the front door of that residence at what we believe is that time, because we know the camera is removed. So we're sharing with the public everything we can to say, identify this person. When they took place or where, that's all speculation.
Sam, you want to jump in again?
Sure, yeah. What are we giving up in?
I think it's the same night. HCS, we can get a challenge going or something, you guys. But look at right here. I mean, look at the lighting. See that? And even that little bit of light there, and 1, 2, all that. Now watch this. It's the same shit. I mean, you got that one. I don't know. Let me see the other one that was there. Yeah, there it is right there. Yeah, I think, to me, everything's so similar. I just think you can't see shadows and everything because this is just a thumbnail. It's so blurry. Whoa! It's Lisa Belson. How the heck are you doing? Good to see you. All right, back to this.
Our other public safety pursuits, when we have, I assume, still a large number of people dedicated to trying to solve this case. That is, a person who's doing one thing is.
I think he was looking in there, and he goes, "Okay, I'm ready to go." Maybe even at that time is when he went around and broke the light in the back. I don't think so, though. I don't think so at all, because I think it would have picked him up on camera. I just think he looked there. He knew he was going to be taking her out that front door, and he was just looking there for a moment. Then he goes back and gets his backpack and everything, and then he goes to the house, and then he he's got stuff that he needs either for protecting himself, etc. So he's got the gun, he's got various items, the backpack, And then he removes the camera, and then he goes back to the car, even with his backpack and everything on him, and then he waits. And then he moves the vehicle. He probably even took his backpack off again. And, one thing, we don't even know if he had his backpack on when he went around the back of the house, do we? You know what I'm saying? We don't have any idea.
Not doing another thing. So people dedicated to this
Are we getting less service from the Pima County Sheriff's Department?
Absolutely not. Let me say this. You're correct. These large cases takes a lot of manpower, particularly initially, early on. Think of Gabby Giffords. You saw that parking lot. Hundreds of law enforcement personnel there. This is no different. They just want a gathering in one spot.
So he would have had to take the backpack off when he made it back to his car to then drive the car. It was hard to drive with the backpack on. And then he would have to put it back on again after he left the vehicle. But I think he was like, maybe he needed the backpack just in case, if he had to go and leave the vehicle and jump over a fence and take off somewhere. He probably didn't want to leave anything. Kind of makes you wonder about the car itself. If that's a vehicle that can be traced back to the person, or was it some, I guess maybe a rental or something that he stole already.
We had hundreds initially to search the areas, to follow leads, track them. We have now consolidated that more to an investigative team, probably 20 guys, but we know that in a moment's notice, if there's something big that needs to be happening, we'll dedicate the resources back in play. So we're not getting short.
Yeah, we've heard that a lot. We keep hearing about the guys staying at the empty place.
Change. Those of us that live in the county, if we call the sheriff's department, are we still going to...
I have links and things to talk about that.
Exactly. The response times of maybe I need to go back and look at those and see, have our
Thanks, Betty Black.
response times gone up over a period of 1 month? That's kind of hard to say. What I go by is, are we hearing from the community saying, man, I had to wait forever because the cops were busy with this case, or they're busy? We also hear a lot of, well, you're spending all this time on this missing person, but what about my missing person? We spend time with missing persons until we can't go any further. This case, we're still working it. Most of the missing person cases we see typically are hikers, get lost in them, so we usually end up finding them, or sometimes it's people who are missing because they chose to be missing. Mm-hmm. They ran away, they moved, so all of those cases, if you go back to February 1 when this started, January 31, and look at all of our missing people from them, we found those people. We continue to pour resources. We don't say, well, I'm sorry, you can't. It's like, oh, the sheriff didn't, he laid off a pilot and wouldn't let the pilot.
Yeah, everybody wants to say it's a different night because the moon would have been done doing this, blah, 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 blah. This is a thumbnail. It's too blurry, too much, and people go, how come you can't see his eyes? Well, here's the thing. It's just the way it is, okay? I can just tell you, I've been doing this a long time, when you have something that's that poor quality, lighting, the camera just sort of pixel, that's just what sort of an artifact is. I mean, in fact, why don't you just look at this one? Watch. Here, watch this. When he's way out here. Well, hell, that one right there. How come we can't see right there? His head's straight up in the air right there. Why come we can't see it? We don't see it there, you guys. Hey, look at that. Lisa Belson's going to try a challenge, you guys. If we can get 5 gifted memberships, she'll donate another 5. Man, that's... Yeah, but see how you can't see it there? See, this is sort of like the Kanika Jenkins case, where people go, ooh, look at, ooh, 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 and they look at little pixelations, and it's not even just that. I mean, we can go all the way over to... look at right there. It's not even that great here. You just see a little bit of the shine of his eye, right? But it's much bigger than that. We know because later, look, see that? That means the reflective value of his skin at this angle matches the balaclava. You notice how, isn't that interesting? Right there, how that works. Wow, Betty Black matched that one right out of the chute. Thank you. Thank you, Coco Love. Yeah, let's see. I think it's right at the end of this where he turns around after he picks up the plant. And then he... Here, let me zoom in. There, watch. Look at that. I mean, can't you see that? You can barely see the eye slots there. And that's just the way it is, man. You know, we see just a little bit later, there you can see the whole thing. No, Gray, it's a different guy, you bastard. No, look at that. Look at that right there. Isn't that just worlds different than what you just saw? But in reality, that's just the way it is. Now, Lisa Belson, 6 months, and then we got 5 gifted memberships matching the challenge. Thank you. And then we have Nikki 6, who said, I think he was waiting at the front door for his cop. No, I don't agree. That's just the new buzz going around. That's not accurate. There's no way he was breaking into that front metal. Yeah, he wasn't going to break in. He knew that he was going to go into the house in the back and come out the front door. He doesn't need to wait for anybody. All right. Hey, thank you, Jeffrey Siddall. But, you know, who knows, man? Maybe you'll be correct. Here, look. Let's just do it again. So watch. Here we go. Here we go. There is the front door. I think he went in there. Listen to how this makes sense. He goes in there at 1:47. He removes the camera. It's disconnected from the network. And then at that point, he knows that there's going to be, somebody might call police or get a notification. So he takes off for a little while, maybe 20 minutes. Then he comes back at like 2:05, 2:07 with the vehicle and parks it right there. The only reason he removed that camera was so that it wouldn't film the car that he's going to be pulling up right there. Then he goes around the back of the house here, hops over this fence. Then this camera right here at 2:12 picks up motion. He comes over here and he breaks that light just to keep it dark back there because, you know, he hasn't gone into the house yet. So he's got to figure out how to get in. He didn't want to be seen by one of the various neighbors that are back here. You've got like this one, you know, different people. So if you have it dark back here, nobody can see you. So then he gets into the house. He makes his way over to Nancy Guthrie, whose room is over here. So he came in over there. Nancy Guthrie's right here. I think her bathroom is right back here. And then she could go out a slider here. And then he got her. And, you know, he was in the house for like 12 to 14 minutes or so. And then comes out the front door with her. And then puts her into the vehicle that's right there. And then drives away. I don't think it could be more... It just seems really clear when you think of it like that. There's no evidence at all that there was a second person. There's this new thing about, ooh, somebody's knocking on the door. Somebody's knocking on the door. You know, he was trying to knock on the door. I mean, come on, you guys. Really? Knocking on the door? Well, when was he knocking on the door? Let's see. We'll go back over here. So that's what he was doing. That's what he's doing right there. Knock, knock. No, he didn't knock on a door. His hand is about, 7 inches from the door at this point. And then now his hand is literally almost touching the portion of the camera there. And then he's got his left hand is trying to open up the doorknob down there. I think. Or it could be, well, actually it does look like his hand, let's see, hold on. I think in this case, his hand is just below the camera right there. It just looks far because of the way it's a wide-angle fisheye lens. So this is at the top, and that's below the camera. That's not the doorknob there. All right, there you go. But maybe you can explain that better there, Nikki, if you want. I just don't. That's just not. I don't see it that way. Doesn't mean you're wrong. Just doesn't seem to be as likely.
Back in, I think
That was so many are blaming you. Are you taking it personally?
No, no.
So many in this community are saying, well, look at the sheriff, the way he's handled this, and he didn't portray our community, and when you were on national TV in the right light. How do you take all this?
Bill,
Yeah, he was in the house 3 times as long as Koberger.
I'm glad they throw rocks at me, not my team. Just do it. That's okay. Maybe I made a mistake. I told them, I'll be your bad guy. I'll be your villain. Well, they took that literally. But because I've also got, the other day I got a tip that said, I think it's Sacramento. Lady said I was at her house on January 4th at 11:30 in the evening, threatening to kidnap her. And she has a picture of me and my...
See, this is... Nanos has been accused of committing the crime by idiots out there.
uniform. I'm just saying.
She said that Nanos was trying to kidnap... This lady said that he was trying to kidnap her and has him on camera.
Where do these guys get this stuff? But
I know, it's crazy.
To say all those things do all solving some crimes.
This is where I absolutely side with Nanos. You know, I think it's just... There's so many complete morons out there on social media that believe and perpetuate complete lunacy. And when I say this right now, those types get offended and unsubscribe. Thank you for letting us know that you're one of the morons and idiots. Thank you very much. It's absolutely not true that Nanos tried to abduct somebody else and is on a... How do you know, though, Gray? Do you have proof? Well, my brain just works. That's how I can tell you, okay? I'm here to talk to... Yeah, it's just... That's right. Can you imagine? Knock, knock. Hello, ma'am. I'm here to abduct you and attempt to get a ransom. Nancy Guthrie, please come with me. Yeah. It's probably not how it works.
But that doesn't mean we just share the whole case with you. So, yes, people say, oh, look, he's talking and he's not telling us anything. He knows something. Yes, I know a lot, but I'm not going to share that with the public. It is about protecting the integrity.
Well, that was a good comment that they didn't pick up on. Is he knows a lot, but he's not going to share it. So what are there might be a lot of more stuff that they know, and they just aren't really talking about it. You know, I mean, things that are... I don't know. It's hard to know. I think they have a lot of details of like what happened and so forth, but it still seems like they're grasping at straws every single day, trying to do a different angle. The construction site, now a home that was empty. Does anybody know where that house that was empty is?
Can we take the first break? Oh, let's talk about my favorite Mexican restaurant, Chef.
Okay, so so that was it. That was the rest of it's just about that other crap regarding his like why he was suspended like 40-something years ago. All right, let's see. So this is the interview that Brian Entin did with Morgan Wright, and we can try to like analyze this one.
I'm joined now by Morgan Wright, and I want to read your whole bio, Morgan, just because it's so impressive. CEO and founder of the National Center for Open and Unsolved Cases, editor and host.
You know, that's actually a .org. That sounds like a place we might be able to donate some money to, don't you think?
Crime Reconstructed Substack and podcast, which I love.
Yeah, right there. Investigative intelligence expert and founder of NCOUC, former detective, national security advisor applying modern intelligence, behavior analysis, and AI to reveal the truth buried inside open and unsolved cases. Yeah, and he actually told me he'd come on my show. So let's see how that goes.
Love your Substack, by the way. You were also a senior advisor in the U.S. State Department Anti-Terrorism Assistance Program, senior law enforcement advisor for the 2012 Republican National Convention. You taught behavioral analysis at the National Security Agency, spent a year teaching the
And this is Brian Entin's video interview.
FBI, how to conduct internal investigations, and then for 18 years you were with state and local law enforcement as a state trooper. And
but if anybody knows where the
hit the highlight.
If anybody knows where the empty, the house, what that was, I guess nobody was living in it. Send me an email.
It's there. And you were also in Tucson recently, so you know a lot about the Nancy Guthrie case.
Yeah, I want to correct. I taught them internet investigations, not internal. There is a whole different mindset when you say you taught internal investigations. So,
but hey, guys, don't forget to help support the channel. See if we can get to that goal. Get moving a little bit more. We're currently at about 50%, which isn't terrible, I guess, at this early in the show.
Yeah.
I was never internal affairs, just for the cops listening out there. Yeah.
Good to know. And you were in Tucson, was it a couple weeks ago?
Well, actually, no, it was when the raid went on. You and I were talking. So when they did the raid, it was just, I think, a couple weeks into it. So I was out there, as they say, with another network. But it was great because you had, and Brian, too, that's one of the most important things you do. You just can't report on it from afar. One of the things that made you so effective, and look, let me tell you, even on these other networks, people were referencing your reporting because you were out there, you were in the midst of things, you were getting information. If you're not on the ground and you don't understand how the roads are, you don't understand how the community is, you don't understand how hard that desert is out there.
That's why we do when you do Street View and you move around, you get a really good understanding of what it looks like. That's why, going there is better. But we've done cases where when you go there, after we've gone over it so many times on Google Earth and so forth, you feel like you were already there, so it's not like, you get, what you do get a different sense of is the hilliness of it. But when you're on Google Earth, you can't really tell. That looks like that goes uphill there, and that looks like it goes uphill, and it looks like we're kind of going uphill, just going in this direction, like that.
Gives a whole different complexion to the reporting. So it was important to be out there. And with your reporting, it's important to actually be on the ground. I even followed when you drove into Mexico to show how easy it was to cross the border.
Yeah. And you're right. Unless you're there, it's such a unique kind of landscape, and Nancy's neighborhood is so unique. I wanted to start off asking you, though, the sheriff in his last interview said that they have a theory of what they think happened, and he won't say what it is. And you've been studying this case since the beginning, and like you said, you've been to Tucson. What is your working theory right now? Some people have said burglary gone wrong. Other people think it's a kidnapping, maybe something related to Savannah Guthrie, a stalker. What's your working theory?
So one of the things I do on the Substack, but I walk people back. I don't have theory. What I have are hypothesis. And the reason I say that is,
Wild Bill.
And I've seen this happen, and you've seen this happen too, Brian. I've seen this happen in big cases. It starts with, we have a theory, then a theory becomes what we know, and what we know becomes the narrative. And I will tell you the biggest failure of that, I was in D.C. in Northern Virginia, not only for 9/11, but the D.C. sniper. And the narrative was it was a white panel van. Totally wrong. They got it all wrong. It was a blue Chevy Caprice. So the reason I say that is I test some theories, and I get that they might have a theory, but I think they confuse theory with hypothesis. Sometimes they get theory, but here's mine. I
didn't say that, Big Darren. I was talking about a different YouTuber. What are we looking at, Timothy? What are we looking at? Is there a challenge in here? Oh, yeah, we got Betty Black said, if you guys want to do another challenge and donate $1 each, I will match it when we get to 50. Well, what if somebody does 10? Does that count? Or does everybody have to do $1? How does that work, Betty Black? Let's say you had somebody do 5. How about with it's basically 10 memberships worth. So if you did $50, like somebody did $5, and then somebody does 10, and then somebody does 5 memberships, that would be 40. You know what I mean? Would that work? Or it's kind of hard to keep track of 51s in there. But she has a challenge up there, Betty Black, saying, if you guys want to do another challenge and donate, we'll just say $50 worth of anything, memberships, etc., she'll match it. All right, so that would be 10 memberships or 10 $5 super chats, or, just $50 worth of something. All right. Well, thanks, Betty Black. That was really cool.
I wrote a Substack on this early on, and having investigated missing people, kidnappings, burglaries, robberies, homicides. When you look at this case, Brian, it's only one of two things. Either it's a burglary that went wrong, or it was never a burglary. And if it was a burglary gone wrong, then the biggest question you have to ask is what conditions existed inside the house to where somebody that was there to commit a property crime
has to take her out of the house. I bet that's what he says. I haven't even watched this. Why would he have to take her out of the house? Why would he need to remove Nancy from the house? This is exactly what our logic that we had here too. Hey, thanks, Lisa Belson. Hey, we're at 11. We need 39 more.
Primarily decided it was less risky to kidnap somebody than it was to just flee.
Right.
And then I think that's the thing where we're missing, which I know you'd love to get inside, so would I, that when the crime scene happened, what does it actually look like? What did the bed look like? Did it look like Nancy got out of bed versus was she dragged out of bed? That's the difference between a confrontation in the bedroom or somebody that gets up. So, I mean, here's the thing I boiled down to. Over time, I was saying the quiet parts out loud. Even on, I remember being on with you and Elizabeth Vargas. We were talking about this. I said, it's not at some point you have to realize it's not a missing person anymore. We have to realize Nancy was 84 years old, cardiac compromised. You violently confronted at 2 o'clock in the morning in your own home.
Yeah.
We know it's violent because there was blood. Whether they said, well, she was taking Coumadin, doesn't matter. You still got blood.
Now, the Coumadin means it just makes it bleed more. So something, she was obviously bleeding. Something caused her to start bleeding. And it's going to bleed more, and the blood's a little thinner, etc., because she's on Coumadin.
Still forced out of your house. That's a violent confrontation.
Hey, thanks, everybody. We got Coco Love, Sandy Will, Jim Lon, Allie Cake, Lisa Belson, and Jeffrey.
So my question was, I realized everybody said, hey, well, we want to, we're hoping for her return. I'm more of a pragmatist. It's like you have to be left brain, right brain. When you investigate stuff, you have to compartmentalize. I'm more like, I said, you need to treat this as a no-body homicide because it tells the public something different about what you're looking at and where you're looking for things. If I'm looking for a missing person, then if I'm up in the Catalina foothills or the Sonoran Desert there, I'm not looking for anything out of place. I'm just going, oh, this case is going on, but it's a missing person, as opposed to when we have a no-body homicide, we're looking for clandestine grave sites, open grave sites, concealed grave sites, things that when you're out walking in the foothills, you need to be looking for these kind of things. So for me, over time, I've gone from initially you say either it was a burglary that got wrong or it was never a burglary. And if it was a targeted abduction, then you have to look at entry, control, and egress. And so over time, I've moved away from, being on the fence, waiting for information to come out. But the longer it goes, Brian, I think if I were testing a hypothesis, the one I would be testing is a targeted abduction. Why? Because the tradecraft, just the sheer logistics, the mechanisms of control. When you target somebody for abduction, you have to have transportation, you have to have logistics, and it's going to take two people. I really believe.
I don't necessarily agree that it needs to be two people.
Based on the evidence, and I've tested my own hypothesis, there had to be two people there for this to actually work. And how do I know that?
Let's see what he says.
Well, the one thing I'd love to have inside the house, Brian, that I don't have is access to see was blood pooled inside the house. In other words, was she targeted? Was she restrained to where blood dripped down? Or did it come out of the house and right to a vehicle? Because we know there was a vehicle because you've seen that the blood stopped. So long.
Well, what they say is that there was similar blood dripping in the house.
Long roundabout, but I wanted to give the foundation to say the longer this goes on, the more it appears to be a targeted abduction that. To me, it's a targeted abduction that went wrong.
That's what I think. I don't think there's two people, though. So we agree on the targeted abduction went wrong. That's what I said on my interview when I was I guess you call this discussion with Ashley Banfield.
They were expecting her to survive. She didn't survive, and that's why very quickly. That's why there's been no this whole thing about TMZ and the ransom notes. I call those parasitic communications. I never believed those from the first day because they don't have two things: either proprietary information or proof of life. So they didn't demonstrate that. And a third thing.
Yeah, except they didn't have proof of life, but that actually validates the gone wrong element. So it could have been them trying to get a feeler out there. But again, why did you send it to TMZ? See, that's where that causes a problem. So what are we at right now? We're at 15, 19, 20, 3, 25, 30, 41, 41. So we need 2 more memberships would be get to the goal there.
No communication channel. So over time, I know nobody wants to hear it, but I'm an investigator. I'd love to say that there's hope out there, but in reality, this is a no-body homicide right now.
So you think targeted abduction? That's your hypothesis?
Yeah, I would say if I were going to test something and really start putting weight behind it and start tasking people to say, here's what I want you to go out and do, it's, okay, let's look at targeted abduction. Simply because we look at, there doesn't appear to be forced entry. I know you looked at the house, but that's not unusual when you think of how often I can tell you there's sometimes I've woken up in the morning, went to take the trash out, and I realized, holy cow, my garage door's open. And I'm pretty security conscious. I've got my security camera. So what's the probability that Nancy went to bed that night like any other night, came home from her kids, maybe a little tired because she's 84, goes to sleep and just didn't lock a door? That's the opportunistic nature of a targeted abduction. Look, when I used to do search warrants with our tactical team and stuff, I said, don't kick down the door just because you can. Try the door.
No, Timothy.
Most of the time, Brian, the door was open. You didn't even have to kick it down. You could just walk in. You didn't have to kick the door in. So in this case, I'm thinking that I would have to examine the possibility, was a door open? And if so, that makes the issue of targeted abduction much easier to rationalize, because at some point, again, your behavior, you don't get better under stress.
Hey, thanks. Betty Black, Randizzle Randy, Randizzle Randy, Wild Bill Wassman, Lisa Belson, Coco Love, Sandy Will, Jim Lawn, Allie Cake, Lisa Belson, and Jeffrey Sidal, and Lisa Valenzuela. Thanks, you guys.
People don't shoot better under stress. People don't drive better under stress. People don't talk better under stress. So you have a fight or flight syndrome. So that person, if he was truly a burglar and they're only to take stuff, I would expect to see signs of theft, signs of burglary, not a staged crime scene. If it was a staged crime scene, Brian, I will tell you right now, my belief then, I would be leaning very heavily towards targeted abduction.
Yeah, I've always struggled with, if it was a burglary gone bad, why?
Staged crime scene. Wait, what was he going to say? Let me read that. Let me hear that again.
Crime scene. If it was a staged crime scene, Brian, I will tell you right now, my belief then, I would be leaning very heavily towards targeted abduction.
But he already is leaning that way, right? So if there was a staged crime scene, right, because you wanted to make it look like a burglary gone wrong, to make it look like that's what happened, but in reality, but I mean, here's the thing though, why would you need to do that, I guess? Why would you have to stage the crime scene when you're abducting her to get a ransom? So why would you need to stage the crime scene to sell the narrative that it was a burglary gone wrong? You get what I'm saying? Wouldn't need to do that. You just take her and then it's a abduction for ransom, because you're giving away the fact that there's no reason to stage it, because as soon as you demand your ransom, you've already given away the fact that it wasn't really a robbery, right?
Yeah, I've always struggled with, if it was a burglary gone bad, why they would go through all the trouble to take Nancy away. Why wouldn't you just freak out and...
Exactly. See, that's exactly what we've said the whole time.
Run, leave, And I've heard two different things. from different detectives that not involved in the case, but just, former detectives who have said, some have said, oh, you would definitely just leave the body. You'd want to get away as quickly as possible. Others have said, oh, you'd want to take the body to get rid of the evidence. But I don't know. I never really, you're shaking your head.
Why would you want to take the body to get rid there's so much work to take the body out of the house, but she was alive. See, that's the other element that when people go, well, the burglary went wrong, she got killed, and then they took her body out of there because the way they killed her would identify. But she's alive when she leaves the house.
That never really made sense to me.
Now, I'll tell you, I had the chance to be trained by one of the original members of the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit, a guy named William T. Peters. I went through the course. And human behavior is actually fairly predictable. I'll give you a good example. When you look at terrorism cases and what terrorists do, I remember I used to work with this New Scotland Yard, the Counterterrorism Command, SO-15. Two of my friends were involved in the 7705 train bombings and bus bombings in London. And those terrorists did the exact same thing the terrorists at Mumbai did, Lashkar-e-Taiba, the same thing that the 9/11 hijackers did. Broad target selections, initial reconnaissance, final target selection, rehearsals, actions on the objective, escape and exploitation, escape and evasion. People go through these steps the same way. So that's why when we'll talk later too about there's a date that the FBI is interested in, there's a chance, a lot of these folks that are there to do certain kinds of crimes will reconnaissance a neighborhood, and they'll do it during the day. They'll do it when there's it's not unusual to see a car, drive around but it's unusual to see a car at 2:00 in the morning drive through in an area that's normally quiet. So human behavior is predictable. And so I don't lean towards the
only thing other than abduction for ransom that went wrong is literally like a sexual assault happened in 14 minutes and they removed her body because they didn't want to leave their DNA there. See, DNA, the fact that we do genetic genealogy, I think is actually, amazingly, it sounds ridiculous, but it's true, I think has resulted in the death of people. Where there used to be a sexual assault, a guy would just take off. Now they have to kill the person because the DNA is inside of them. It used to be where they might take off because, maybe they wore gloves or whatever, and it's just sort of a crazy way to look at it, but I think that's absolutely true.
A burglar, even though they're armed, would decide that violence in the home, it's less risky to take the body than it is to flee. Why? Because the minute you do that, Brian, you've increased your risk. This is why when they look at serial offenders, when they looked at serial killers like Gary Ridgway, actually a friend of mine, Dave Reichert, was the lead investigator on the Green River killers. And they only go out a certain distance. That's why when you start looking at bodies, for example, Long Island, Gilgo Beach, Rex Sherman, you start looking at bodies and where they're placed, there's a thing called distance decay. You only go so far before that risk goes way up, too far up, that it's too risky for that person. And
hey, how do you figure out where the empty home is? Does it say it in one of the articles? I haven't really read the article yet. But. So right there, that's really close. That's crazy. That's right where, what's weird about that, that's right where I have my car parked. Oh yeah, I think I saw JLR pointing at this one. Let's see, hold on, let me... That's weird. My animation, you guys, with the vehicle parked right there. What a great place to park if that is, in fact, a place where, that's exactly in my animation where I have that. Yeah, no, this is right in this driveway. This is where, in my animation that I put out there, I have the vehicle. I thought it looked like a great place. And the reason is look, if you, let's say, just to the left down there is Nancy's home. So you would park right over there, and these trees would block anybody seeing you from here. And then from this side, you'd be over inside of there, so nobody would see you over there. And it just looks like it's so far away from the street. It was almost meant for multiple cars to park there. Wouldn't that be crazy if that really turns out to be the spot and I've had the right place for the whole time? Wouldn't be shocking, though, would it? You know what I mean? That's what we do over here.
And so they start.
All right, who's doing the next challenge, you guys?
Start bringing it back in. That's the max distance they're going to go out. And so in this case, I look at human behavior and say, what happens under stress? It's fight or flight. That is the natural instinct we have. And that goes back to when we were cavemen and you got saber-toothed tigers. It's like, is that thing going to eat me or is it going to stomp me? I'm not going to stick around to find out. I'm going to leave. I mean, we can trace back how criminals act back to how we acted back when we were cavemen.
So if it's a targeted abduction, and I tend to agree with you about the TMZ letters, I just don't think they ever really made sense, and there was never proof of life from what we know, and there was never...
Well, they sent letters to news stations too, and they didn't say anything. So obviously when they sent it to TMZ, they wanted the public to know about it.
A real way to make contact or send real money. But if it was a targeted abduction, then what was the motive?
See, that's the part where the sheriff says they think they figured out the motive, which...
No, I don't agree with you, Betty. It says, I don't think ransom gone wrong only because wouldn't just give up after Savannah said they would still pay. I think they realized, you know what? They're going to use this next communication to try to find us. And now we'll be on the hook for murder with the death penalty on the table. I think at some point they just go, you know what? We're going to wash our hands. But it also might not even be that those ransom notes have anything to do with anything. They just gave up. Like, here's probably how it really worked. So let's say the ransom notes are completely bogus, right? But it's a ransom gone wrong. This is probably how it actually worked. Forget the ransom notes. That they abducted her. She was bleeding. And like later that night, she like passed away. The stress of the situation, her horror, she died. Her heart gave out on her. And they just go, screw this, man. And they put her somewhere. And they just wash their hands of the whole situation. And that's probably the more likely theory of what happened. You get it? I know, they should tell more, Betty. But they're already on the hook. Right, well, they're already on the hook for it, but that's when you want to bail and not let anybody find you, because now they're on the hook for something much worse. If they'd been caught, or, whatever, I don't know. I think it's just one person. So if the person was caught, it would be... They just would have got like 10 years in prison if it was an abduction for ransom, something like that. But now if they're caught and she's dead, it's absolutely horrendous. I mean, for them, it's way worse. It's first-degree murder, special circumstances, the whole 9 yards. You know what I mean? They probably get 10 to 20 if she was still alive and they caught them,
Which tells me, well, look, one thing I tell people I approach this, I learned a long time ago, Elon Musk is really smart. Elon Musk is also really rich because
I think if they killed her, they get the death penalty.
He's really smart. And when he found out a better way to...
Does Arizona not have the death penalty?
To build batteries, which was the use of first principles, deconstruct it, decompose it down to its structural elements, then rebuild it. So that's what I do with cases. It doesn't matter what...
Okay, Jim Lawn has his challenges, but we're talking about something maybe later in the show, Jim. We'll do that. But we could use a different, the normal type of challenge just to get us moving forward. We're still, quite a ways short of the goal where I donate 5 myself.
What you believe, it matters what must be true. For the sheriff's statement to be accurate, what must be true? They must have had information or evidence inside the house that indicated that this was a targeted abduction, or they received communication later that indicated this was targeted abduction. And in a case like this, I would say, Brian, that if it were, this is a hypothesis, if it's a targeted abduction, then what explains the lack of true...
No, but if they went and tried to get their money, that's giving the FBI one more shot to get them. And it's when you put the money into the crypto account and they get it, that's where they can get caught. So it's just, however they were going to get it. If the ransom notes aren't real, then we don't know how they were going to try to ask for the money.
Communication. One hypothesis you test is that the victim died. There's nothing left to ransom. I mean, you might think, people go, well, you would do like the TMZ. No, look, you reach a certain point where that every time you have a contact with law enforcement, you increase the risk. You increase the risk of detection. It has been decades since somebody truly got away with kidnapping in the United States. The FBI has just got this down to an art form. People say, well, they can use crypto. A friend of mine, actually, I think I put him in touch with your network. A friend of mine's Dave Kennedy. Him and I actually testified for Congress. He came out of NSA. We talked about this. After 9/11, the abilities financially to track back things, even cryptocurrency, even things off the dark web, we've got those capabilities now. So it becomes very difficult to do that. And so I just look at this and I go, it's one of two things in my hypothesis. Either the sheriff has information or the sheriff's department has information we don't have, which was received after the crime was committed, or there's something at the scene which clearly indicates that this was a targeted abduction. And if it's a targeted abduction, then I think it's not a burglary gone wrong, it's a targeted abduction gone wrong, because the whole goal of an abduction is to get somebody you can ransom, and if she dies, then that's why I say treat it as a no-body homicide. We have to start looking for, in this case, I think, either open grave sites or concealed grave sites.
So if she died, and it's so sad to think about, but if Nancy died, and this was going to be an abduction where they were going to ask for ransom, and then things went wrong, but Savannah still put out those videos early on saying, we just want our mom back. Basically, either way, we just want closure. I mean, she kind of acknowledged that her mom might not be alive. Why, if you're the kidnapper, why not, or the abductor, why not say, okay, we can still get some money here. Let's get some money and return the body.
Right, but see, let's see what he says. I mean, I got to admit, it's cool, because I always feel like sometimes when we get the really serious investigator types that don't wildly speculate, that we're usually on the same page. So I want to see what his answer is, because just a minute, I haven't listened to this yet. I just saw that he did this interview, and I thought, well, hell, why don't we take a look at it? So what we were just talking about is what they're asking right here. He's just about to ask.
Let's get some money and return the body.
Yeah, why not just get some money and return the body?
I go back to what I said. It is very difficult in this day and age with the FBI. A lot of people bag on the FBI about a lot of things. And look, we have our own jokes between law enforcement and the FBI. But let me tell you, at the end of the day, the people working the cases, the people out there on the front lines, all great people, the analysts, the FBI agents, they work really hard. But to your point, if I've just done a targeted kidnapping is a serious offense, but homicide is the highest level of offense you can commit, right? The murder, first degree murder, and this would be felony murder, the death of somebody in the course of an inherently dangerous felony, and a dangerous felony is kidnapping. I'm looking at it, so there's another technique too, Brian. It's called a winthropping. So winthropping is what the MI6, what the Scotland Yard used to do when they were engaged in operations against the IRA, the Royal Ulster Constabulary, which is now the Police Service of Northern Ireland. It was getting in the mind of the offender. Where would they hide their weapons? What would they do? And that was how they found these caches of weapons and stuff. So it's a technique we use in cold case homicides, no bodies, to say, what would the offender do? So I'm sitting here going, I'm thinking as the offender, this is a hypothesis. I've broken into a house. It was a targeted kidnapping. I thought I was going to get money. Oops, she died. I got to get rid of the body.
Oh, cool.
Why would I increase my risk?
I wasn't sure if you took off or not.
By attempting to ransom or get money out of a body when I'm going to be charged with felony murder, which means I'll go to prison for the rest of my life. At some point, it's like...
I just said the same thing. Yeah, he just said, you're going to get... Let's just see that.
Or get money out of a body when I'm going to be charged with felony murder,
right,
which means I'll go to prison for the rest.
Right. That's exactly what I just said. Hey, we got one of the Marty's Bar and Grill, a $25 coffee if you guys do 5 gifted memberships. There you go. Thank you, Marty's Bar and Grill, for the effort.
Rest of my life,
or the challenge, I guess is the term. I think he says just what I just said, right? If he gets caught, now it's felony murder. It's not even just felony murder. It's like murder. Well, I guess it is felony murder. In the course of another felony, the abduction, she died, and there isn't some other thing like a gunshot wound or some crazy thing like that.
At some point, it's like a business. You go, I'm going to cut my...
Wow, that was the quickest one in the world, Lisa Belson. Well, there you go, Marty. It was reached.
Losses. I'm gonna get rid of everything that ties me to this case, and just hope that it goes away. That's why I think we haven't seen any real verified communications. All of those TMZ things, none of those were verified. And I tell people the reason these communications kept coming. Brian, think about watching sports on national television, any of the networks. When's the last time you saw a streaker on national TV? You don't. Why? Because it only encourages bad behavior. Every time they published one of these letters, it only encouraged that same person or another person to write another letters. Because why? Because they got their 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah. One thing that just from talking to people on the ground in Tucson, talking to some sources, and just what my gut told me, and I don't know why, but I always felt like, and I still feel like, whoever did this is not far away.
Isn't that weird, you guys? See, we had the same feeling. I think they're onto something. You know, the way the helicopter was flying around, right there with the blue, the Bluetooth sniffer, right there in the area. Just, it always felt like it's something right inside there. That's why I drew this line on, this little red. See this right here? This red outline, I put that on there, I think on what was it? Man, when did this start? February 1st or 2nd. That's when I put this here. So it's weird. That's exactly what we've talked about many times, is that it feels like the way the searching and different elements and where the FBI keeps looking around, etc., like it's somewhere in the area.
From Nancy's.
And, it might not be at all. That's just the feeling that you get.
Not necessarily in the neighborhood, but I just never got the sense that this person came from another state or something. And I may be totally wrong.
I don't think you are. And apologies. I know we're doing this kind of... My cat loves me.
Yeah, I was going to say, did I just see like a tail go by or something?
Yeah, by the way, Marty's pretty cool, dude.
Something like,
you did. I think she's going to go lay on her. When I do my Substack, I do a daily update. When I do my Substack, I also have a camera up here, so I do my kitty cam. I let them see her over there.
Nice.
No, I'll tell you. Here's why I think that. This is why I think you're spot on. And this is why. But you have to look at behavior, right? That area out there. You've been out there, Brian. I mean, I think back to my college days when you could do it when you were younger. You'd go out drinking and then stumble back to the fraternity or the residence hall. It was tough enough when the roads, and I grew up in Kansas where the roads were right angles. But at that out there, I said it's the equivalent of taking a bowl of spaghetti and turning it upside down. That's what the road plan looks like out there. There is absolutely no rhyme or reason. So you either need a navigation app or you have to have knowledge of that area. And the other thing, too, is... that is an area, and I also wrote another article too. It was about the egress analysis. How would you get out of there?
I loved that, by the way, what you did with that. That was so interesting.
Well, but that proves my point, right? So it's like when you look at, in fact, I'll tie it back to something the FBI did, the missing kids. The FBI, and this is something I got involved with 24 years ago. This was actually
when they put that map up there that he made. I'll show it on the screen. He had like these arrows pointing. See, I think. What I've said is, to me, the quickest place to get away from visibility in humans is up, this way north, kind of, up into these mountains, or even like you come over here, up here, and then boom, up this direction, and then you're sort of out of the way of the main population, What did you say? Oh, yeah. They just were removed from there, Karen. They were just removed.
Part of the work I was doing inside the intelligence community right after 9/11, because I looked at what the FBI was doing with it's called the Highway Serial Killer Initiative. They would find where bodies would dump, and they would tie them. What they would find is that they were along major interstates, major routes, and so some of these ended up being then people involved in trucking, long-haul trucking. When you look at some of the missing kids, for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the friend of mine retired from the Marshals, John Clark, he became the executive director. I mapped out all of his cases for him. They had never seen a map at that time. And you know what? A lot of those cases where the children went missing were near major highways, major thoroughfares. So when you look at this, one of the reasons they did it, though, because they did not have local knowledge of the area. So when you kidnap somebody and you dump somebody, you're going to go off the road. Again, Winthropping. Where would I go? What would I do? That body's going to be not that far off the road, because what are you doing? You get back onto the interstate, or you get back onto that major thoroughfare so that you can leave the area. This tells me, when I look at everything that goes on around it, and I look at how comfortable that person was, how comfortable they were staying in that area from 147 till no later than 228. That is a lot of time. In this, the world of military, they go, that's a lot of time to be on the X. That guy was on the X for at least 40, if not 47 minutes, because we know at 212, at least the sheriff's timeline, there's a sensor goes off inside the house, one of the cameras. 228, there's no ping.
The 212, though, is likely outside, because the sheriff, when he made his statement, he made a statement saying something like, yeah, well, the camera could, picks up a human. I guess it could have been an animal, too. I think it's the outdoor camera.
Between the Bluetooth pacemaker and the phone, but that's a 16-minute window. But Brian, that goes back to what I'm saying. If it was a burglary gone wrong and all you were in there with a burglar, think within 16 minutes, remember, your behavior doesn't get better with stress, it degrades with stress. In 16 minutes or less, you have to figure out now, what am I going to do with the body? How are we going to get her out of here? Do I have somebody working with me? Where's the car positioned at? How do I get the car here? How do we get her, load her in? Where are we going to take her? What are we going to do with her? You have to figure all of that out in 16 minutes, as opposed to somebody whose intent was a targeted abduction. They have that all worked out. That this is what they're prepared for. It's the same thing with the home invasion. Home invasion expect people to be there. That's why they come in armed. That's why they come in to do control. So to kind of circle right back to your point, I think we're looking for somebody, if they're not from the area, they have knowledge of the area. And last point here, I will tell you, this is how it works.
Yeah, I'm just letting you guys know. Look, Paulette sent me saying something like she can't. She's blocked and not a mod. And I personally didn't remove her as a moderator. I don't know how that would happen. I don't know. Maybe YouTube did something with her account. But if you're out there, Paulette, send me an email with your @name and I'll put it back in there. I don't know what the hell's going on. I didn't touch it. I'd have no reason to do that.
Works. When I was a detective, we had a series of bank robberies in our town. And through a series of investigative steps and informants, we found out that our suspect had been convicted in Kansas, but was on what they call compact parole. He was compacted to the state of Georgia. As we found out, this conspiracy brought this guy from the state of Georgia back to Kansas to do the robberies. Everybody was familiar with the area. They knew the area, but it was somebody living in Georgia. Now, this guy went on to rob a couple banks in Georgia. During one of them, he attempted to carjack somebody, shot and killed him. He got the death penalty. And my person was a Supreme Court case, the state of Georgia versus Michael Nance. He avoided the death penalty that the Supreme Court ruled on because he said, oh, look, I'm an IV drug abuser.
Thank you, Chris O'Connell. If she was blocked. Oh, really? Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened to her. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe I don't know if I could accidentally do that. I mean, how do you, I wouldn't even, you'd have to click on the arrow and all, it's just the 3 dots and then choose. There's no way.
The needles would be, harmful to me. But Brian, that's my point. This guy was not living there, but he was from there. He knew the area, so he knew once the bank was robbed, he knew how to drive. He knew where to go. He had knowledge, local domain knowledge, and that's what you're looking for. So I'll bring it back around. There are more indicators than not that this person is familiar with that area and they don't live in that area. I would say that they were from that area and they've been up in those hills before, because that is not an easy thing to go.
Yeah, see, isn't that weird? He's saying up in the hills. That's exactly what I used to say all the time. And I didn't watch this, so I didn't know he said it too, but that's what...
Go up into that place at 2 o'clock in the morning and navigate the roads.
Yeah, the way you described it, like spaghetti. I mean, even I was there for, I think, 43 days. And I went there every day to Nancy's house. And even in the end, I was still using my GPS to get out of the neighborhood, at night especially, just because it was so dark. And I would even make wrong turns. I'm like, gosh, I've been here for over a month and I still can't figure out how to get to her house. Like it really is a very unique, and the ups and downs of the road, and it's so dark at night. Some of the houses look the same or are set off the street, so it would not be an easy place to get in and out of if you didn't know.
No.
Your Substack where you described the different ways to get away, is there one that you think is probable here?
Well, one of the great things too about being down there, I have some friends.
So I guess this is like his little Guthrie residence up in the mountains, central Tucson. I think it's more likely, in my opinion, these three up here. It would be the direction. I think you'd want to drive the least amount of time possible in a populated area with an abducted person in your car.
Friends, and one of them was a former Tucson police officer, went to Arizona DPS. One of them, I think she's done some stuff on your network too, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith.
Yeah.
We've been all longtime friends, and they had local domain knowledge. They live in Marana. So we actually talked about that. And so if you were doing a targeted abduction or even leaving the scene, what are the chances? We looked at very unlikely that they would go north because of the mountains in that range, based on the way the person was dressed and their need to get back to their area of operations. They're like a marauder, what we call a marauder. A marauder is somebody who operates out of a fixed base, goes out, ranges out, but comes back after that. And so they act more like a marauder, which means a marauder has to have a location, a base of operations. That base of operations, we think, was more likely towards South Tucson. Why? Because of the way the person was dressed, the way they carried the pistol. That carry they call down there, it's called a Mexican carry. And for those folks who think that, that guy's just an amateur, folks, I will tell you, you talk to Dave Smith down there, you talk to Betsy, there are police officers who've been killed by gang members who carried their gun exactly like that. Why? Because it was easy.
Someone just emailed me that today. They said, look, it's called a Mexican, what did you call it?
A Mexican carry.
Is it really? Let's see. Yeah, so he's got, let's see. Yeah, right in the front there, I guess. Like right there, right in the front. Interesting.
Someone just emailed me that today. Yeah.
I don't know. Paulette, you're out there. You got to send me your @name. I've said it 15 times already. I don't know how to find or can somebody find me Paulette Leonard's YouTube and send it to my email? Can you do that? Can somebody go do that for me?
So what does that mean?
It just means that, look, when you've got all those clothing on, so it's like there are several ways you can carry a weapon. You can carry it in a holster, forward canted, but you have to reach back like this. There's things they call appendix carries. So you can carry it under your clothing like this, but it's right here in your appendix, so it's very easy to draw and pull out. But that's difficult to do when you're dressed like this person was. Like you say, when I was down there, Brian, the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is Tucson's, it gets hot during the summer, but during that time we were down there, it was cold at night. We had that rain that came in. It is cold. So this person is dressed up not only for disguise, but because it's cold. So it means if you're going to access a weapon with gloves and everything else on, you're going to carry it on the outside. And that's the other big misnomer people made. They looked at that. They said, we're looking for a white holster. They failed to understand how infrared works, passive infrared. Passive infrared doesn't reflect color. Because it doesn't reflect, colors, lights in wavelengths. So that holster was not white. That holster was actually dark colored. And those are the things you look at. And plus the mismatch of it too, Brian, people say, well, he was carrying a semi-automatic and a revolver holster. So, the only thing that proves is, that he had a mismatched holster. It doesn't prove capability, doesn't prove intent, doesn't prove that wasn't intentional, that he didn't carry it that way. He may also have a revolver, and that's the one holster they have. So, I mean, and actually, a friend of mine is the senior director for Walmart for corporate security. I actually called and talked about the holster and the...
Yeah, so it could be something, I mean, that could be it, I guess. I'm going to move it forward past the...
Interesting. When you think about technology, like right when this happened, I mean, I just assumed it was going to get solved in a week, especially when President Trump started talking about it and Cash Patel. And I just thought, once you have the resources of the FBI and that kind of pressure, and I guess I just always had this, maybe it's not true, but this thought that that the FBI could kind of see anything if they really wanted to when it comes to geofencing and satellites. And I just thought there's no way they're not going to be able to figure out who this is, and then they got the pictures right away off of the Google Nest Cam, which the sheriff had said would be impossible. So do you think they've tapped into all that technology at this point and this person just got really lucky?
So that's an interesting question. So there's...
Hey, Paulette, try typing in again. I think you're all good now. There you are. Hey, there she is. I have no idea what happened there. I think what happened is you were hidden somehow, and then that just removed you as a moderator just by, like that's what it did. I don't know. I have no idea how that worked. Yeah, there's no way I would do that.
There's a couple things there to dive into. One is behavior. How does a person behave? How do they act? If this is somebody who has done this before, in other words, if I wanted to ensure that I had the lowest possible digital profile, I would take nothing digital with me. I mean, I've got an Apple Watch here. I've got an Apple phone. In fact, when you go into what they call SCIS, secure compartment...
You guys can't hide other moderators, can you? I have no idea how that would happen. That's weird. I'm the only one, other than I think 2 moderators have a higher level, but I don't know. Just...
information facilities, these things have to come off. Your phone has to stay there. They're all capable of being tracked. They're all capable of transmitting.
I didn't hide you.
And so when I look at that, I go, if this person had done this before, or this was their intent, and they had at least some element of tradecraft, there's a chance that they would have minimized and mitigated their digital risk by leaving anything digital. And then the second thing is that how do you do communications? Folks, you can go down to...
You know what it could have been? Like when there's a troll comment and you click on it and then you hide the person, you could have clicked on the wrong one and hid the other, hid Paulette instead of the troll, I think that happens a little bit in here. But hey, guys, see if we can do some more challenges. We keep having these massive lulls where it makes it hard to have a decent night.
Well, it used to be called Radio Shack, but you can go down to Walmart. You can buy a little handheld walkie-talkie, short range, get you enough distance. That's not going to show up on anything. So then there's 2 things you can do with the phone. There's cell site location information, but that's carrier dependent. So if you got a Verizon phone, I'm not going to get anything from AT&T or T-Mobile. If you got AT&T, vice versa. However, there's a second thing, and this is one of the other technologies I work with. It's called AdTech. I work with folks called Fog Data and Fog Data Science, and we actually work with state and local law enforcement, the federal government, but it's called AdTech. And so on this same phone, while this is like an AT&T phone, but if you run an app on your phone, like I run News Nation app, or if I run Waze, or if I run anything else, that ad data, when you download that phone, you agree, that end user license agreement, you agree that, hey, I'm going to allow you to collect certain pieces of data. And with Google, it's everything. It's location. Apple's more concerned about...
What's cool about Paulette, that she said, when she sent me the email, she said, hey, Gray, I guess I can understand you demodding me, but why am I blocked? That's exactly what you want to hear from a moderator. Like, she didn't really care. She wasn't like, gosh, Gray, you bastard. She was, but none of that was true. That's the funny part about it. Like, I don't remember ever blocking. I mean, I would never do that, first of all, block Paulette. She's been around here a long time. But I could see maybe like if there was a troll and then you click the arrow and you hit the wrong person, and that's about the only thing I can think of.
About privacy, they don't resell your data, but Google resells a lot of this. But all of these apps on here, they're collecting information. They're collecting location information. They're collecting usage information, the type of phone you're on. And this stuff gets sold then to data aggregators. And that data aggregators, they sell this information to folks like Fog Data or Ventel. And it's called ad tech, so it doesn't matter now. It's irrelevant of the platform. It's about the app. And that app will show signals, places where they connect. So when I took a look at that, I actually have I drew a map around that. I drew a radius around that. That is a very dark spot in terms of radio transmission, radio signals. I got little to nothing from a ad tech standpoint. And I tried to look on these egress routes. Okay,
I think it should show in there, but I didn't see it.
Look, where would it be?
So what do you mean? Sorry, explain that a little more. When you said you drew a map and you got little to nothing, what do you mean?
So I put a pin in the house, put a pin on the map where Nancy's house is, and then I drew a 1 mile radius around that, looking for any signals during that time. And I was generous. I went from 9 o'clock at night till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Signals from phones?
Yep.
Okay.
From this ad tech, from your mobile apps.
Okay.
So, and because you don't need a warrant for this, you don't need a subpoena for this. You get this because you buy it, because when you download.
What is it? What app is that? That sounds kind of cool. What is that app?
Load the app and put it on your phone. You agree to share that information with the app provider. So,
well, I guess other people would have to have already had it and agree to it, right? I mean, how do you, if everybody in the neighborhood doesn't have that app, then you're not seeing anybody, right? So it doesn't seem.
I was moderating a panel one time for MIT, and we were talking about data and intelligence and collection stuff. And I had a panel. I had NSA lawyers on their former stuff, but I simply asked the audience. I said, "Who do you fear more, the NSA, the CIA, and the FBI, or Facebook, Google, and Amazon?" And without a doubt, it was Facebook, Google, and Amazon. Our intelligence community, FBI, salivates at the amount of information these folks collect.
It's crazy what you ever done something where you're on Amazon and you're looking at a product, and then 2 hours later you get an ad on Google for the same product, or like you just are talking to somebody about something and then it shows up. It's the great, like, you have those Alexas on our wall. I think those are creepy. Wow, look at, we got Marty's Bar and Grill said Chris O'Connell and I offer a 10 for 5. Wow, that's amazing. So if you guys do 5 gifted memberships, Chris O'Connell and Marty's Bar and Grill and Chris O'Connell, they'll do 10 if you guys just do 5. All right? That'd be amazing. Thank you.
That they can't legally collect. So it goes back to your point. Can the FBI do it?
Did he name the app back here?
They're collecting.
I was too busy trying to get Paulette back into the
information. They're collecting location information. They're collecting usage information, the type of phone you're on. And this stuff gets sold then to data aggregators. And that data aggregators, they sell this information to folks like Fog Data or Ventel. And it's called ad tech, so it doesn't matter now. It's irrelevant of the platform. It's about the app. And that app will show signals, places where they connect. So when I took a look at that, I actually have I drew a map around that. I drew a radius around that.
You said it before
that is a very dark spot in terms of radio local law enforcement, the federal government, but it's called ad tech. And so on this same phone.
Ad tech, is that it? Hold on, let me go back. I got to hear this. I think this might be a good thing to have.
And then the second thing is then how do you do communications? Folks, you can go down to, well, it used to be called Radio Shack, but you can go down to Walmart. You can buy a little handheld walkie-talkie, short range, get you enough distance. That's not going to show up on anything. So then there's 2 things you can do with the phone. There's cell site location information, but that's carrier dependent. So if you got a Verizon phone, I'm not going to get anything from AT&T or T-Mobile. If you got AT&T, vice versa. However, there's a second thing, and this is one of the other technologies I work with. It's called ad tech. I work with folks called Fog Data and Fog Data Science, and we actually work with state and local law enforcement, the federal government, but it's called ad tech. And so on this same phone, while this is like an AT&T phone, but if you run an app on your phone, like I run News Nation app, or if I run Waze, or if I run, anything else, that ad data, when you download that phone, you agree, that end user license agreement, you agree that, hey, I'm going to allow you to collect certain pieces of data. And with Google, it's everything. It's location. Apple's more concerned about privacy. They don't resell your data, but Google resells a lot of this. But all of these apps on here, they're collecting information. They're collecting location information. They're collecting usage information, the type of phone you're on. And this stuff gets sold then to data aggregators. And that data aggregators, they sell this information to folks like Fog Data or Ventel. And it's called ad tech, so it doesn't matter now. It's irrelevant of the platform. It's about the app. And that app will show signals, places where they connect. So when I took a look at that, I actually have I drew a map around that. I drew a radius around that.
Like ad tech 2026.
That is a very dark spot in terms of radio transmission, radio signals. I got little to nothing from a ad tech standpoint. And I tried to look on these egress routes. Okay, look, where would it be?
So what do you mean? Sorry, explain that a little more. When you said you drew a map and you got little to nothing, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So I put a pin in the house, put a pin on the map where Nancy's house is, and then I drew a 1 mile radius around that, looking for any signals during that time. And I was generous. I went from...
So you can go get historical time on here?
9 o'clock at night till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Signals from phones?
Yep.
Okay.
From this ad tech, from your mobile apps.
Okay.
So, and because you don't need a warrant for this, you don't need a subpoena for
Oh, weird. So if anybody has mobile apps going, it's somehow what's the precise name of this thing? Oh yeah, we need one more gifted membership, you guys, to reach that goal there. What is the precise name of this thing? Because I see on Google Play Store we've got Ad Tech, like a class bot, and then Ad Tech 2026. I mean, what are these things? Oh, that didn't have anything. Okay, Ad Tech class bot is the only thing that is by itself. Oh, okay, because he works for them, I see. All right, forget it.
for this. You get this because you buy it because when you download the app and put it on your phone.
I think you can buy it, it sounds like.
Phone, you agree to share that information with the app provider. So, I was moderating a panel one time for MIT, and we were talking about data and intelligence.
Hey, thanks, Karen W.
Intelligence and collection stuff, and I had a panel. I had NSA lawyers on there, former stuff, but I simply asked the audience. I said, "Who do you fear more, the NSA, the CIA, and the FBI, or Facebook, Google, and Amazon?" And without a doubt, it was Facebook, Google, and Amazon. Our intelligence community, FBI, salivates at the amount of information these folks collect that they can't legally collect. So it goes back to your point.
Thanks, Miss Kyla.
Can the FBI do a lot of stuff? They can, but they're also constrained by law. They're constrained by subpoenas. This is obviously not a FISA type of case, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, so they can't use the section of 702 that they can with other stuff to get national security letters. And so I think that's why you're seeing them going out and asking for additional stuff. When I say it's a dark area, very little signals. I mean, I got 3 or 4 signals and none from Nancy's house, which is unusual. I had people double check me and triple check me. We had no signals coming out of Nancy's house during that time, even a 24-hour period. So,
oh, that's interesting.
If it's not there from an ad tech standpoint, I will tell you from a cellular standpoint, it's going to be kind of just as difficult because that's kind of a weird area. There's just not great signal in some of those places. So we want to think that these folks know, but we used to have a joke when I was doing work at Justice and some intel stuff. It's like if the public only knew, Brian, they think they got all this stuff. Well, if the public only knew, it's not as the stuff that they got from the Nest camera. That's black magic. I think. I mean, for them to recover that.
That is pretty amazing.
In zettabytes worth of information, that's black magic, and that's to kudos to the FBI for doing that. But everything else, Brian, the fact
I don't know how they got video out of it. I got to be honest with you. So think about it like it records what would have been a video, but it's not a video. And then any other motion could write right over it, and it looks like it did write over it in like little tiny chunks, like a second here and then 5 seconds over there. But then they were able to grab the, the little whatever files they were, and then convert it into video somehow. I mean, it's just really pretty crazy how they were able to do that.
So I bring it back to this. The fact that we have so little information to go on tells me that whoever did this mitigated their risk digitally and electronically to the standpoint of where there's very little to go on at this point. And that indicates planning, preparation, and experience.
Hey, thanks.
And they may know.
Thank you, Marty and Chris O'Connell, for that challenge there.
A lot more behind the scenes, especially like you said, they definitely know what the inside of the house looked like, things we don't know, whether things were disturbed. But my sense is that they don't know a ton more than we do.
And Paulette comes in here, gets whatever it was, she got back in, and then she disappears. Jesus.
Then we know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that, like with Koberger, we later found out they knew a ton and they were really tracing him and they were doing genetic genealogy and there was a whole thing that was going on that no one knew about. I just don't get that feeling in this case, especially with them revisiting the same houses again and again now, asking the same questions and some new questions, but I interviewed Steve Moore yesterday, who's a retired FBI agent. He made a really good analogy because I was like, why do they keep going back to the same houses and asking varied questions? He's like, well, it's like if you lose your keys at your house, you can't find your car keys in your house. First, you look in all the places that you normally leave them. Like you look on your desk, you look on your bed.
Hey, put a 1 if you guys have ever done this before. Oh, yeah, I'm going to put my keys right where I'll remember to put them. And then 30 minutes later, where the hell are my keys? And then you don't remember that great place that you were going to put them, right? Or have you done this before? You're running around looking for your keys, and they're in your hand the whole time you're looking around for your keys. Or you're looking around for your glasses, and you're literally looking through the glasses while you're looking for your glasses. That's pretty crazy.
Side. If they're not there, you go to the next level. If they're not there, then you're suddenly digging through your comforter. You know what I mean? So it was his feeling that, they may not know a ton, and that's why we're seeing some of this. I mean, what do you think?
I think back some of the cases we worked on, sometimes when you had to go back with the second search warrant because as you did interviews or as you got additional evidence.
That's why I think, like, at some point you might just walk out of your house naked. The waist down. You're just walking around. Hey, how's it going? You're already at the store, and then you go, wait, I forgot to put my pants on. It's gonna happen, man. It's gonna happen. By the way, I sent out I had like 11 notebooks to send out, and I finally did that today.
Evidence, it indicated stuff. The other thing too is in that house they probably had consent to search. You'd have to verify that, and maybe you can get a search warrant. But you can also get consent to search. With the consent to search, that allows you into everything. I mean, you're not restricted. When you serve a search warrant, you're restricted by the scope of the search warrant. In other words, if I'm looking for a stolen automobile, I can't be looking in your dresser drawers. However, if I say I'm looking for stolen automobile parts, that greatly expands the scope of my search warrant.
So you probably intentionally put stuff on search warrants so that you can reasonably be looking somewhere.
So they may be finding things that redirect their interest. And here's the other reason why too. Look, folks, people, time, money, they're all finite. You can only put so many people on a case. There's only so much time a day to work a case. There's only so many leads you can follow. And what happens is as you do this stuff.
Betty Black said, I got a key finder and then lost the key finder. You lost your keys and then looking for the key finder, you couldn't find that either.
As you develop information, it may be that so-and-so kind of is on the periphery of our radar, but they don't really mean much. But then we get another piece of information, or I get some digital evidence that says, hey, they were in the area. Now I have a reason to go back and revisit that person or revisit that location. So they could be finding things that says maybe they've, Brian, like you say, we don't know everything, but maybe they're tracking a car. And one of the things they're tracking on the car is they have some information based on maybe digital.
Yeah. I've said this. I think they did track a vehicle on cameras, just lights through the trees. Just like in the Idaho 4 case, you know, the other tracking of the vehicle going around, you could see the lights on a building, I think 1127, and then you could see lights through the window as it's going up behind over here, reflection, and you could see various lights, and I think that's kind of what they know at right around 2:30, a vehicle is pulling away, and they can see it on other cameras, like a little bit of light moving. If I had enough motion to set off a sensor, but I think they kind of know what it generally looks like too.
Cell site stuff, that they were in a certain road or in a certain area at a certain time. That's why they're going back to look for that to say, do you see anything? It's entirely consistent that some people who commit these types of crimes do prior reconnaissance. As I said, the terrorists did it. Terrorist planning cycle.
I don't do reports.
The people who did 9/11, the people who did Mumbai, Lashkar-e-Taiba, the people who did you name your terrorists, the London train bombings. People are creatures of habit. It's like broad target selection, initial reconnaissance, final target selection, final reconnaissance, rehearsals, actions on the objective, escape and evasion. It's entirely consistent that somebody doing this would have been out there beforehand. You know why? Because that house is not going to move. It's not going to change locations. It's always going to be there. The brush is going to be the same, the scrub brush, the sage brush. Are there any street lights, anything like that? There's so much hardscape out there that is not...
I thought these were interesting. I hadn't seen this video here before. Like, that's her car in the garage, right? And then... So look, that's how the door works. So this is... Yeah, so that's interesting. And that's right where I thought the door would be. So then I'm at the wrong place. Just a second. See, it's interesting. I wish I could see right in here to the right. Because is that where this door goes? Or... was there a closet here, and then they extended it out at some point to be part of the house over here? So is there a wall, like, right here in there, you know? That's kind of what I'm trying to figure out, because there's a door here that apparently this door right there was the one that was wide open. But does that just go right into the garage? And then that door, this door right there, you see that? That's the door that I think you can go in. Right there, see that? So when Tommaso dropped off Nancy, they went in the garage door. Apparently there's an opener right around this corner. And then he brought her to this door and then came back out. Now but based on that, there's the door. Then the door right over here, you would think that would go into the garage, wouldn't you? However, on the floor plan, there apparently is like a closet here. Have they changed that? And then maybe added it to part of the kitchen is what I'm wondering. Let's take a look at, remember those pictures we had? Let's see. See, I think that door right there is coming from the garage. That one. So looking at this, that garage door is right in there. So that means you're looking at the house about like this. And then there's like a dining room table. See, that's crazy, right? So the dining room table, I guess so if you went straight across right here, here's where the door would be. And then back, I don't know. It might be a little bit further, maybe like in here, I guess. So that door is probably here. Maybe even right there, and then the dining room table here, and jeez, man, that's crazy. And then it looks like it goes back here, and then maybe Nancy's room is to the left. See down there? So you come down, and then there's this opening, and then her room would be right over there to the left. I don't know, man. It's too... having all these crazy images don't really work that great. But yeah, that's totally, you can see how to get into the house right there.
Not going to change. You could do reconnaissance 6 months in advance. and not have anything fundamentally change. So
what do you mean I don't
they
care?
may have something, but the other thing too is
I just went over the pictures inside the house, Karen. When you say, I know you don't care, but those 4, there was 3 pictures.
It's just due diligence, right? When you run out of something, you say, okay, I think back to the Boston Marathon bombers. They had an initial perimeter set up. They thought they were contained inside there. They weren't. They got the homeowner that came out, and what did they do? They had to expand their containment, their perimeter, and then they converged on that boat.
All right, I'll do a challenge now. If you guys do 5, I'll do 5. I'll give 5 memberships if we get 5 more. All right.
Their initial perimeter was wrong. They thought they were inside the perimeter. So you deal with that all the time. So I don't know that I read too much into it, but I do agree with you, though. At some point, you can tell where they're doing things to check the box just to say we did those, as opposed to we have a hot lead, we got something, we're tasking people. A lot of the stuff you can also tell, I can tell too, it's like watching cop shows. I can tell when somebody's been,
it's interesting.
A real cop has told them how to wear their weapons and wear their uniform versus some Hollywood guy. You can tell by this sense of urgency when you see them out there if they've just got clipboards and they're getting out of the
there's only 3, Karen. You said 4.
car and they're going up and knocking on doors. That's follow-up. There's not an urgent sense of urgency behind that. I mean, it's something they need to get done, but it's not like, man, we're going to bring 4 teams of detectives out and start knocking on doors all at once because we have a hot lead. So you look at their actions, if they're not excited, I don't usually get excited.
And you don't feel, yeah. Just lastly, Morgan.
Wow, thanks, Chris O'Connell, Wild Bill Wassman, and Chris O'Connell again. Here we go. Just a second. And there we go. Hey, thanks, Betty Black. And here we go. There we go. Right there.
And I'm kind of asking you to look into a crystal ball here. We obviously don't know, but I believe this will be solved. I mean, I don't get the sense it's going to be tomorrow, but like you said, I mean, these things don't typically go unsolved. But is there something you think that's going to solve it? Do you think it's going to be DNA in the end? Do you think it's going to be someone wanting the reward? If you had to guess, what your hypothesis? What brings this all together in the end?
What's that reward up to now? It's over $1 million? Over
$1 million, yeah. Savannah Guthrie put up $1 million, and then I think the FBI put $100,000, and then there's another $100,000 from someplace else, something like that.
So, Brian, if $1.2 million doesn't move the needle, I don't think money's going to solve it at this point. If somebody knows now or they've known, and the $1.2 million doesn't move the needle, I don't know that money will solve it. Will it be a lucky break? It could be a lucky break.
I think rewards almost there. It's like 1% doesn't help solve a case.
It could be a traffic stop where something's developed and it leads to that. I would lead you back to the case of Polly Kloss when she was kidnapped by Richard Allen Davis. I think it was 96, 97. It took 72 days to find Polly Kloss, and it took them going through all of these things only to find that Richard Allen Davis had been stopped, or he was on the side of the road stuck. He was contacted by 2 sheriff's deputies. At that time, though, unfortunately, Polly was already dead. She was in the woods, already dead. But it took them 72 days to get back to that location, and it was just through hard work grinding through it. Son of Sam, actually a friend of mine, chucked out NYPD. His dad was one of the detectives that found the parking ticket that led to Sam Berkowitz, the son of Sam killings, or David Berkowitz, the son of Sam killing. A parking ticket on a taxi led them to this. Sometimes it's little stuff like that. Will it be forensic evidence? It could be. It all depends upon the danger, though, is when people say we think we have the suspect's DNA, then pretty soon that becomes an assumption, becomes hardened, it becomes this is our theory, and everybody starts repeating the narrative. It's like the white panel van with the DC sniper when it was a blue Chevy Caprice. So I don't know what it will be. Like you say, Kohlberger, they had investigative genetic genealogy, familial DNA. One of the cases, a young girl named April Tinsley was kidnapped, killed back in
I covered April Tinsley. I know that one really well. April Tinsley was by John Miller, and he looked like an absolute ogre. He kidnapped April Tinsley. I think she was 8 years old. Just really, just this little, little. I don't know. She was just so cute. I don't know how to explain it. In a sort of devilish way. Like she was probably one of those kids, like mischievous. and she just was playing out with her friend in the rain, and then she was abducted. Then they eventually found her. Let's see if he says some of this stuff. Then they eventually found her and a shoe. And then that was 1988. Then 2 years later, on a barn, the killer wrote, "Have you found the other?" He wrote, like, "I'm the one who killed," he said the R word. And April Tinsley, "Have you found the other shoe yet?" Because there was a shoe missing. And when they found her body, they found like some sexual objects that this person used too. And then they also had, I think maybe a few years, or like 10 years after that, the barn thing, maybe even 15, he put used condoms on like bicycles right up in this area, and the FBI predicted where he would live, and they were so close, it was unbelievable. They said he lived. Then eventually they took the semen that was in those condoms and then did genetic genealogy, and it led back to John Miller, who lived in a trailer park right next to a school, which is exactly what the FBI said. He lived right next to a school. It was crazy. So let's see what he says about that.
1988, her murder went unsolved for a long time until part of the evidence they had, the technology was there where they could get the DNA. In that case, when they did the investigative genetic genealogy, they were one step away. They had his brother's DNA, which led them directly to the suspect out there in Indiana. So sometimes it's a lucky break. There's an old saying, I'd rather be lucky than good. We're at the point now to where they need a lucky break to go their way. They're still going to do the hard work. They need to be prepared for the luck when it shows up. But
and the weird part about John Miller is, I remember I talked to Cece Moore about it at CrimeCon. I said, "Hey," and she goes, "You know what? He was actually a hell of a lot smarter than he pretended to be. He always played like Sudoku and those games, But he looks like I think he's dead now or something, right? I mean, let's see. Let me show you what he looked like. Yeah, look at this guy. So if everybody who thinks Parabon Snapshot works well, does that guy look like that guy? No. He's got the right skin tone, but this guy's a freaking ogre over here. And this one looks just like a normal person. It's not that great. All right, but look at him in this shot right here. Let's see if I can pull this, look at that guy. That doesn't look like just an absolute freaking ogre, this dude. Right there? Jeez. Look at this guy. So, look, that's what I'm saying. See how cute she is? But you can see, like, mischievous. Right? I mean, it was just... And he just... Like a freaking monster killed her. I mean, it's unbelievable, really. Yeah, and I remember I had that picture. They were checking that little creek. I did some cool Google Earth map work on that one. That's her mom. I'm probably not. I don't know. I don't really have that much fun when I go to CrimeCon. It's just sort of...
I can't tell you what's...
A lot of effort.
What's going to solve it, but I can tell you that when that one break comes in, then all the other pieces, we will start figuring out why this doesn't make... Uncertainty is okay, but it does not make sense right now. Why doesn't it make sense? It's like Jurassic Park. The way they got it to work is they had that missing DNA, so they fixed the missing DNA, right? And it made everything work. The problem was that missing DNA had unintended consequences. And that's what I'm careful about here. I don't want to insert something into there that has unintended consequences, but just to finalize the point, it's either going to be... it's going to be it's going to be information, either information they find or information from a person, a tip. It's going to be forensic, or it's going to be something probably electronic, like they were able to work the cell site location information, be able to, you think about Rex Sherman, the Long Island serial killer, Gilgo Beach. It took them a long time. He was using burner phones, and they still found him. But they found him because they went back and they looked at the information they had, and they took a look at it with fresh eyes, and they found something they should have followed up on that they hadn't really truly followed up on. That led to the break, that led to tracking him, and that's how they caught Rex Sherman.
Yeah.
Human.
Well, hopefully it'll be soon. Morgan, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
That was it. That was a great interview there by let me get the guy's name, with Morgan Wright and Brian Entin. Let's see. I've got different articles here. Let's see what this one says. This one was in the Mirror today. Ex-detective now believes Nancy Guthrie kidnapper had 2 to 4 accomplices. Okay, let's hear this one. Yeah, it was basically a convention there, you guys. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there was 16 maybe. Retired Pima County homicide detective Kurt Dabb believes there are anywhere between 2 to 4 accomplices. Maybe that's why you're retired. Involved in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Maybe he's right, though. I'm just, I'm just saying. It just doesn't seem like it. Mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie. The 84-year-old has been missing since February 1st. Nancy Guthrie's kidnapper may not have acted alone, according to retired Pima County homicide detective Kurt Dabb. Dabb stated he believes there are anywhere between 2 to 4 accomplices involved in the disappearance of the 84-year-old Guthrie. Now, when you say accomplices, or you mean that some weren't even there that day, they're just part of it? I guess that's possible. Involved in the disappearance of the 84-year-old Guthrie. Nancy, the mother of Today host Savannah Guthrie, has been missing since February 1st. The logistics of something of this magnitude are too much for one person to handle. In my professional opinion, based on the facts as I know them, right now, Dabb explained, it comes after a bombshell Nancy Guthrie update as a neighbor shared their suspicions about who fled the home. Whatever that means. David Grohl, tense... is that something else? Let me get on here. Authorities are treating the case as targeted abduction, though no formal suspect has been charged. This follows a major Nancy Guthrie development as neighbor revealed their suspicions about who left the residence. On February 10th, the FBI released multiple photos and video footage showing a masked individual standing on Guthrie's porch. The armed figure is captured approaching and then interfering with Guthrie's doorbell camera. At one point, he obscures the camera with plant material. Google retrieved footage from the back end of its Nest system, which was subsequently provided to the FBI. Dabb believes Guthrie's disappearance wasn't a burglary that went awry, but instead a kidnapping. Yeah, well, hey, at least there's a lot of people coming around to our theory, or at least mine. Burglars don't go burglarize a house with a full backpack, he explained. See, isn't that funny? That's exactly the opposite of what Jesus, man, my brain is just, I'm so tired. Spent the whole day just like, hold on. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Ashley Banfield said, what did she say? She said, The former detective thinks it's more... she said, why would a person abducting somebody have a backpack? This guy says, the armed individual of Guthrie's porch was carrying a backpack, which investigators traced to Walmart. And it says, burglars don't go burglarize a house with a full backpack. I guess that's true, right? You would go in there, but now, in her scenario, she was saying if it was a sexual assault, maybe that's what, it was a kit. You see. I've never thought this was a robbery gone wrong, Dabb said. He noted that burglars do not hit residents when it is almost guaranteed someone is home. He added that there were too many opportunities to have hit the house when nobody was home. Right, I mean, even earlier in the evening. The former detective thinks it's more than likely that either the kidnapper himself or an accomplice surveyed Guthrie's property before she vanished. Whether or not they knew a camera was there was a culmination of their reconnaissance. You know, nobody ever states it the way I state it. Like when I say this, the reason they removed the camera was because a car was going to be parked there. Nobody else says that anywhere. You ever notice that? Like that's the answer. That's why the camera was removed. They didn't care otherwise. It didn't make any difference at all. But they had a car that was going to be pulling up into that little spot right in front of the camera, which they'd be able to identify probably the make and model of the vehicle. Because he didn't care being filmed walking up to the camera. It's weird how nobody ever words it that way. They just kind of, it's actually really important logic, you know? It's weird. Yeah, I've mentioned the tracks a million times. Yeah, that was like one of the first photos I had in the case. Yeah, I've mentioned it 200, at least, I can't even tell you how many times. Here, look, I even have specific images for that. See, there's these tracks right there. This image here that I used was from, this is February 2nd, okay? So yeah, it was, so the day after she was abducted. And then there's another camera shot, I think it's this one, where you see tracks back here, but that's more likely, that goes right into like her slot. Who knows what that is, but I think the tracks right here, you know, maybe right there and right there. See that? Like I actually think that's could be what that is, if that is a car track right there. But it kind of looks like there's one there and here, like he backed up and the back of the car was right there. Ish, you know, maybe more like like they got to here or something. I don't know. But anyways, that's how I look at it. So yes, we've talked about that 1,000 times. Just not for the last month and a half, probably. So you must have been on the wrong channel there, Spaghetti Man. I have never thought this was a robbery gone wrong, Dabb said. He noted that burglars did not hit residents. Okay, and then the former detective thinks it's more than likely that either the kidnapper himself or an accomplice. Whether or not they knew the camera, right, we read that. Guthrie's relatives are putting up $1 million reward, or $100,000, or $1 million reward for the octogenarian safe return. Just say, Nancy, you guys, nobody thinks you're cool because you typed in octogenarian. The FBI has announced a $100,000 reward for any tips leading to Guthrie's rescue. Guthrie was spotted January 31st. Let me go down here. Following her disappearance, Savannah siblings have posted several videos. And it doesn't even say in here anything about 2 to 4 people. Did you notice that? Like we read the whole thing, and not one time did it say anything about 2 to 4 people. These people just, like, they make stuff up. I think I have a sound effect on that.
And some of you make shit up.
There you go. Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, day 48. How come it's, what do you mean it's getting more sinister? Where is that? What do you mean by that? Let's see. Oh, you mean like it just becomes more and more like something really bad happened? Can't say too because he was, yeah. I think there's just one person who did this. And it's not hard for one person to do it. I don't know why models show, hey, somebody else had to do it. You know, Koberger did it by himself. He killed 4 people in a house. He didn't take anybody out, sure. But Nancy, now if you think Nancy was dead when she was being removed from the home, then I would agree with you that yes, there probably was somebody else, or you'd see drag marks that go all the way down. You know, you'd see it, but there isn't. So I think Nancy was literally awake and able to walk and was forced to walk on her own feet with a guy holding a gun next to her, having her walk down the path. And as I showed before on here multiple times, of course, if you don't watch this and you just spend all your time watching a guy filming the house for 24 hours a day with no information at all, then you'd probably miss it. So we've got right here, there's blood all the way out to the last tile. And so when you look at this, if they hadn't removed the camera, you would see Nancy Guthrie about right there walking with the guy next to him. And she's kind of lower to the ground, you know, maybe bent over when she was coughing, etc. But that's where she made it to, because her blood drips down right there, right on that last tile. So it's kind of weird thinking of it like that. You know, she was probably more like this, her physical body, and then she made it to here, and then obviously she made it further down because there's droplets down there, but he doesn't walk on video like that. You know what I'm saying? All right. It's amazing how people just love the, you know, sitting there in front of the house, filming a house with nothing happening for hours and 10 hours. It's just, man, how do you compete against that? Crazy. I don't get it. I know, I just said that. I think she was made to walk down the driveway to the car. What do you mean you thought that too? Yeah, we've said this since the beginning of the case. This isn't something new. I repeat myself a lot on here, hoping that there's some other people that are maybe new that haven't heard the reality and the logic. Yeah, there's expirated blood. It was coughed up on the ground right there on the way out. Okay, now the expert that was on, I don't know if it was Megyn Kelly or what show that was on. I think it was Megyn Kelly. They're wrong. Okay, yeah, it was Megyn Kelly's show. They're incorrect. Okay, I don't care if they've got 19 degrees and blood spatter. She said that this blood right here, these little fine dots, were satellite blood drops, meaning a drop of blood hit, and then as it hit, it shot out little smaller blood droplets. Complete garbage, okay? Can you see just by looking at it how there's this really solid, tight area here, and then these little dots way out there? Does anybody out here think that if a drop of blood landed right there, that it would shoot these little particles that far away, like 7 or 8 inches way over there? No. This is somebody who is bent over, you know, it's 8 to 24 inches is what ChatGPT came up with the, you know, so let's just say it's 24 inches off the ground. That would be Nancy standing up, maybe knees bent slightly, and she's bent over, coughing. And then she walks out. Now, she's not going to step on her own blood because she's the one that's bleeding. You know, it's not like there's a person in front of her bleeding that she then steps on. The blood of her own body is going to hit the ground between her feet, sometimes maybe hit over to the side, etc. But she's going to be able to walk out without stepping on any of her own blood. But look at that right there. There isn't a drop in here that went. It's just literally a higher concentration. And it's very similar to the Jodi Arias sink image. And you can look at it. It's almost identical. I mean, it's a lot grosser, really. It's just, let me see if I can load one up. That didn't work. Shit. Maybe this one. It's been so long. This is old. But right over there. See over there on the... Oh, it's so small for you guys. Oh, I think that might have been it. Yeah, right back there. See that? So Travis Alexander was standing over the sink, dripping blood from his nasal cavity because he'd been shot. All right, and then he coughed up blood, and it went over here in that pattern, right over there. See how it's kind of more dense? Drip, 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 and then boom, right over against there. And there's actually better photos of that out there. So there you go. We are now in the 7th week of the search for Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of NBC Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, who went missing from her Tucson area home. Fox News reports that the FBI recovered new photos from all 3 cameras on Nancy's property. Yep, last week the Pima County Sheriff's Department said cadaver dogs were no longer being used. Yeah, I mean, you probably went all around the neighborhood and there's no hit, so, what are you going to do now? Authorities believe Nancy was taken from her home against her will, yeah. I don't really, forget this. It's stupid. Right, Nancy Guthrie looks so big. Oops. Investigators are asking about vacant property near her home. Experts reveal how it may have been used in her disappearance. FBI agents who are investigating Nancy Guthrie's disappearance are reportedly looking into a vacant property in her Arizona neighborhood as the search for the missing 84-year-old nears the end of its 7th week. Guthrie, who is the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, disappeared from her home in the Catalina foothills. I don't know why they have to keep recapping the whole thing again. For weeks, investigators have been canvassing her Arizona neighborhood, speaking to neighbors, examining security camera footage from local dwellings, and interviewing anyone who might have contact with her before she disappeared. Now, News Nation correspondent Brian Entin, who has been on the ground outside of Tucson for weeks, reports that local FBI agents have turned their attention to another target, a property in Nancy's neighborhood that was vacated by its residents before her disappearance. I don't think I've seen that one. Have you guys ever seen that one? I have, Gray. I really have. You see, I went and... Okay. Good for you. Yeah. All right, here we go. Some of the things that they're talking about is there's one neighbor that moved out before Nancy disappeared, and they are asking more questions about that situation. Entin revealed on a recent episode of his YouTube show. Not to say that that has anything to do with what happened, but that is something the FBI agents are asking about. While Entin did not share any other details about why the property may have lured interest from the authorities, retired Pima County SWAT commander Bob Krieger or Krieger maybe, shed some light on how the dwelling might have played a role in Nancy's capture. Krieger explained that oftentimes in cases like this, abductors will look for a vacant property or structure near their victim and use it as a kind of hideout from which they can keep tabs on the person they are following. The former official said that authorities are likely examining any empty homes near Nancy's dwelling for this reason, investigating whether those responsible for her disappearance used any local property as a staging area before carrying out the crime. They could look at these kinds of homes as possible home bases or staging locations. Well, that's so weird because that's the house that apparently they're looking at is, this one right here. And if you go back and watch my animation that I made on the 19th, look at this. That little parking spot is that house. See that? Like I had them parked at the vacant house in their little parking area, and then walking this way around towards the house that night. This is before, could have walked through the trees and whatnot, but anyways, goes up to the front of the house, goes into the front, and then removes the camera from the front of the house. Then after removing the camera from the front of the house, knowing that his car is going to be parked there later, he takes off for a bit. And then he waits to see if, by setting off the motion sensor, law enforcement was contacted because of that, he thought. Maybe. So he goes off-site, waits for 20 minutes or so. And then, at about like 2:05 or so, gets in the car, drives this direction, goes down, and now it's go time. And then drives into the driveway right here. And then parks the car right there. Now the camera's not there anymore, so it's safe. So then he gets out of the vehicle here in a moment. See that? Then goes around. And then remember, there's a camera right over here. And then he comes around and then hops over a fence at 2:12. Boom, that camera picks him up. Then he goes into the house. And he's doing whatever the hell he's doing in there, for 14 minutes or so. And then now we're filming the front of the house again. And then he takes Nancy out of the house. He walks right next to her, gets her out of the house, and then puts her into the vehicle. Forces her in there at gunpoint. Then the vehicle takes off with her in it. Doesn't that make sense? I know I showed it 50 times, but it just seems like, wow, it's kind of makes sense. But anyways, I happen to have the car parked exactly in the same home that they're saying was abandoned, in this parking spot right there. I mean, obviously this has parking over here. Then there's another spot over here that you walk a path like that. And that would be a great house to monitor. I mean, hell, in the middle of the night, you might walk right over here, and you could come right through there and look, come back this way. A location like a vacant home out of the prying eye of the neighborhood could also be a location to set up surveillance equipment if anyone chose to do so. It could be easily stashed in a structure or the property without anyone knowing. Yeah, that surveillance camera. Well, thank you, Chris O'Connell. As for why such a property might only have come under investigation, Krieger noted that the authorities may well have received a tip from someone who has only just remembered something unusual about the dwelling or a person they may have seen there, adding that investigators are likely pursuing any and all avenues. Yeah, so that means see, this is the kind of thing that makes it seem like they're not really on to something, that they're just trying anything. His insight into the case comes amid mounting criticism of Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, whose handling of Nancy's case has faced increasing scrutiny. I guess they put out a petition calling for Nanos' resignation from his position with the Arizona Republic. I don't know. Why don't they just get through this case and then look at it? You know, they'll know what the reality is if they find her or not. You know, if he had something to do with what, you know, like his poor work. You know, it could just be that this person knew what the hell they were doing and didn't matter what our perceived, you know, even giving the property back, which is stupid as hell, had no effect on why we can't find her. You know, it could just be, you know, like none of his, I mean, it doesn't take away that he did a lot of stupid things. So it's like, it might not have affected anything, but it takes away the confidence the public have that he has the ability to take care of something if it happens again, you know. So I guess that's the problem. I'm looking for people to help us out, get involved, get out. Okay, the signature shit. Yeah, they said thousands of tips are still coming in, etc. But anyways, I think that's probably about it, you guys. I don't have much more to go over tonight. I'm kind of tired myself. But tomorrow we're going to have on Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick. All right? Now, what happens a lot of times when she comes on, people in the chat, we always forget to help support the channel, and then we have a struggling night. And it's weird, too, because that's exactly a reason we should have a good night when she's on, because we've given them over $100,000 in 6 years because they help. There's one really old case that we looked in, that we actually paid money a long time ago, that's being reactivated. And then three other ones that we are just now starting to get the ball rolling on. So we've got a whole bunch of... So I think the rest of the money this month I'm going to have to put into the DNA fund. I mean, the rest of the, you know, the money that I donate. All right? You guys going to be there? All right. Anyways, thank you up there. Thank you, Marty. There was actually another someone also, too. So there was a different someone from the UK earlier in the day, and then Marty, and then Lisa Valenzuela for the coffees. Let's see. And then, all right, then over here, we started off with Timothy Cecil, then Allie Cake, Wild Bill Wassman, Michelle H., then Wild Bill Wassman again. He always keeps some sort of a flow going when it's just dead as a doornail. And then Lisa Belson showed up with 10 gifted memberships. Then Nikki gifted one. And Betty Black gifted one. Then Betty Black gifted 5. Thanks, Betty Black. And then Coco Love gifted a membership. And Lisa Belson, 6 months of pure hell. And then Lisa Belson gifted 5. Then Nikki 6, I think he was waiting at the front door for his accomplice to bring Nancy out the front. There's no way he was breaking. Yeah, he wasn't going to go into the front, though. He was going to just go in the back and then open the front door from inside, in my opinion. And then we had Jeffrey Siddall, gifted one. Timothy Cecil, Can you imagine? Knock, knock, hello? Yeah, we did that one. And then Justin Sally. Gray Rules True Crime. Rest in peace, Art Bell. Yeah. From the green forests of the Pacific Northwest, I bid you all good evening, or good morning as the case may be. All right, then we had, let's see, Wild Bill Wassman, then Jeffrey Sedal again, then Lisa Belson, Allie Cake, Jim Long, Sandy Will, then Coco Love, and then Lisa Belson, then Wild Bill Wassman again, then Randizzle Randy, gifted a membership, then Betty Black, these are, she did a 10 to 10 basically. And then Wild Bill Wassman, then Lisa Belson. Where am I? Oh yeah, and then Roger Smith, Chris O'Connell, gifted 5, then Jim Long, Mama for Coffee, Jim Long, Wild Bill Wassman, gifted 1, then Roger Smith, then Mama for Coffee, then Karen, Miss Kyla, and Chris O'Connell, gifted 5, then Chris O'Connell, then Wild Bill Wassman, then Chris O'Connell, gifted 5, then Betty Black, and then you guys, I think Chris O'Connell and Wild Bill and Betty got to the 5 for my challenge, and then I did my 5 at the end. Cool. What do you mean? Did I say I had a golf game tomorrow, Lisa? I don't remember saying that. Maybe I did. I think I am going to try to play. Then my friend canceled it for me because he wanted his kid to play, and then he said, "Hey, Greg, can you play again now?" From the green forests of the Pacific North. Art Bell sounds more nasally though. He's like, from the green forests of the Pacific Northwest, I bid you all good evening, or good morning as the case may be. Oh yeah. Oh, is that what he said? Alright, you guys. Thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow, and thank you all very much for your generosity and getting us to the goal. It was a little smoother tonight than some other nights we've had. I appreciate that. And thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow, alright? Who the hell knows? Probably tomorrow at 6. 6 o'clock tomorrow. Alright, Marty? Everybody? It's going to be, usually it's a little earlier with her, so 6 o'clock is when the show starts. With Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick. Yeah, no problem, no problem. Hope you guys liked the show. We'll see you tomorrow. And then until next time, be safe out there. Hey, I wore my hat again. All right. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, projector. I'm a certified lie detector. Gonna get ya.
a stretcher.
If you try and play me like an
Or
old
projector.
crime
Sector.
is
My nectar pathetically is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector. Enema is gonna be a pump protector. Fool reflector, interceptor. Enemy to let us make with a vector.
on his spectre
With all
spectre.
Just remember,
Other type of fucking gesture.
I have no
agenda.
Another
Tender.
and a silver teeth
Straight without the blender.
And in the
end, I'm
gonna
gonna send ya
on a mission
to reveal the true offender. Yeah,
what the hell was that? Jeez.
All right, everybody. Talk to you.
That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, Mary Lou.
Jeez, Kenny, that isn't very nice.
Was that a cry? That was the worst cry I've ever heard in my life.
Well, I was working on it, Gray. I was working on it.
Okay, whatever. All right, we'll see you guys later. Wow. That was crazy. Thank you for watching Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube, where we cover true crime using logic, reason, and common sense. And don't forget that we throw facts in every single day. And that's how you work through a true crime case. I know that's unusual, but that's what we do here. Thank you very much for watching. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.
Bye.
Evil can never be dead enough.
And some of you, you make shit up.